I was lying in a hospital bed, the dull beep of the heart monitor keeping time with my thoughts, when the phone rang in the middle of the night. My chest still ached from the heart attack 2 days ago. Tubes ran into my arm, and the smell of disinfectant hung thick in the air. I picked up the receiver with a shaky hand. "Dad, it's me." Emma's voice. It sounded colder than I remembered, detached like she was calling a business partner, not her father. "Sweetheart," I said, the word catching in my throat. "It's late. Are you all right?" "I just wanted to tell you I'm getting married tomorrow." For a moment, the heart monitor spiked. The words hit harder than the attack that almost killed me. Before we continue, please subscribe to stay updated on our latest stories. "Married tomorrow? You never mentioned." "In Reno," she cut me off. Ryan and I decided not to wait. Her tone didn't waver, just steady and lifeless. Then she said, "The apartment and the car are sold. The money will help with the wedding and the honeymoon." I blinked, trying to make sense of it. My apartment, the one I bought in her name for her future. The car I gave her when she graduated. "Sold?" I repeated. My voice came out rough, thinner than I wanted it to. "Emma, we should talk about." "There's nothing to discuss," she said sharply. "I'm 28, Dad. I can make my own choices. Ryan says you have been controlling, that you keep me tied to you. This is my chance to start fresh." I could feel the pulse in my neck quicken, not from fear this time, but from something heavier. Betrayal. "Emma, please," I said quietly. "After everything we've been through since your mother died." "I need to focus on my new life," she interrupted. "Ryan's right. You have held me back long enough. I am sorry about your heart, but I cannot let guilt run my life anymore." 15 years. That was how long it had been since Linda passed. Since I had poured everything I had into raising that girl, bought her a home, paid for her college, backed her every dream while mine withered away in a gray corporate office. And now, lying in a hospital bed, I was hearing her final goodbye. "Goodbye, Dad," she said. "Fine," I answered, steady on the surface, even though my insides were shaking. "But you forgot one thing." There was a pause, the kind that stretches too long. "What do you mean?" she asked, irritation seeping into her voice. Something inside me shifted right then. The man she remembered, the soft father, the one who always gave in, was gone. In his place stood the lawyer who had survived 3 decades of contracts, clients, and loopholes. I let out a small laugh. "You'll see soon enough," I said. "Good luck with your wedding, sweetheart." I hung up before she could respond. The room was silent again, just the soft rhythm of the heart monitor and the faint hum of the hospital corridor. My heartbeat had steadied, but I knew something irreversible had changed. My eyes fell on the photo beside the bed. Emma at her graduation, standing between me and Linda, sunlight on her face. She was 25 then, smiling wide, calling me daddy like she used to when she was little. The frame trembled in my hands. 15 years since Linda's voice had faded into memory. I could still hear her words from that last night in the cancer ward. "Promise me you'll take care of our girl. She'll need you more than ever." I had promised. I had sworn it while the smell of antiseptic and grief filled the room. Emma was only 13 then, crying into my chest at her mother's funeral. I was a lawyer, not a counselor. I knew how to read contracts, not fix broken hearts. But love forces a man to learn, and I did. Every single day of her growing up. Those college years blurred together in a fog of sacrifice and pride. Every bill paid, every meal skipped, every late night at the office worth it because it was for her. Now all that devotion had been sold off, apartment, car, love, gone with a phone call in the middle of the night. But the mistake she made? She sold what she thought was hers. What she did not know was that the apartment she listed had been my quiet test all along, one last contract she never read. And soon, she would learn what betrayal felt like from the other side of the deal. Those tuition checks drained what was left of my retirement savings. Still, I kept signing them, telling myself it was worth it. The late-night calls made it easier, her voice full of excitement about exams, friends, and plans that only an 18-year-old could dream up. "Dad, I do not know how to thank you for everything," she had said once, her voice soft, sincere. I had smiled into the receiver. "Just be happy, sweetheart. That is all the thanks I need." I could still picture the day we found her apartment 5 years ago. We had toured a dozen places in safe neighborhoods until we stepped into one that just felt right. sunlight through wide windows, a quiet street below. When I handed her the keys, she had spun around that empty living room, laughing like she had just been handed the whole world. "I cannot believe this is really mine," she had said, hugging me so hard my ribs creaked. "You earned it," I told her. "Your mother would have been so proud." I had structured the legal side carefully, a trust setup that protected her but kept the property in my name. She did not need to know those details. Her happiness was enough for me. But 8 months ago, something changed. It started quietly, the way a storm does, just a small shift in the air. I remember that Sunday dinner when she first mentioned him. "I met someone, Dad. Someone special." Her eyes had that spark again, the kind I had not seen since college. I was happy for her, truly. I wanted her to have love, stability, maybe even a family of her own. If only I had known who Ryan Bennett really was. After that dinner, her calls got shorter. Our Sunday meals turned into coffee meetups that she often canceled at the last minute. She said she was busy. But it was not just busyness. It was distance. Her laughter faded, replaced with a quiet tension I could not name. Every time I asked how things were going, she grew defensive. "Dad, you need to stop trying to control everything," she had snapped 2 months ago. We were sitting in her favorite restaurant, the same one where we had celebrated every milestone since she was a teenager. I had told her I just wanted what was best for her. "Ryan says you are too controlling," she had said. That was the moment I realized she was not speaking for herself anymore. The memory made my pulse rise against the heart monitor now, every beep echoing the truth I had tried to ignore. The daughter, who once called me late at night just to talk, had sold my apartment and my car to escape the man who had given her everything. 8 months earlier, that summer evening had begun so full of hope. She had picked Casa Moderna, a high-end Italian restaurant where we had celebrated her college acceptance years before. I walked in and saw her at our usual corner booth, glowing with pride. "Dad, this is Ryan Bennett," she said, motioning to the man beside her. "Ryan, this is my father, David Foster." Ryan stood to shake my hand. He was tall, sharply dressed, and too smooth for my liking, confident in that deliberate way that reminded me of witnesses who rehearsed their answers before a deposition. His grip was firm, but it lingered longer than necessary. "Mr. Foster," he said, smiling easily, "Emma has told me so much about you, the brilliant attorney who raised her on his own." He had that kind of polished charm that came from practice, not sincerity. "Please call me David," I replied, "and give your girlfriend some credit. Emma's done most of the hard work herself." Ryan's smile widened. "Modest and wise. I see where she gets her best traits." Emma beamed and reached for his hand across the table. "Isn't he sweet, Dad?" Sweet was not the word that came to mind. Calculating fit better. The candlelight glinted off his watch, a Rolex. His suit looked tailored, his shoes high-end Italian leather. All that luxury, but his job title, consultant, sounded vague enough to mean nothing. "What kind of consulting do you do exactly?" I asked, leaning back. "I help people optimize their opportunities," he said with a grin. "Strategic planning, you might say." Emma jumped in before I could ask more. "Ryan's being modest. He's brilliant with investments and strategy." That was not an answer, but she was glowing too brightly for me to ruin the moment. Ryan studied me with that same smooth expression. "You have done an incredible job with Emma, David." "I mean it, but tell me, do you ever worry you might have been too generous? Sometimes people can take advantage of that kind of kindness." The comment hit with surgical precision. I could not tell if he was testing me or planting seeds in her mind. "Emma's apartment is beautiful, by the way," he added smoothly. "You clearly have an eye for good real estate." There it was, the first red flag. The interest was not in her, but in what she had. Emma smiled proudly. "Dad found that place for me. It's perfect." "You deserve the best," Ryan said softly, though his gaze stayed locked on me. "Your father is a smart man, makes wise investments." When the waiter arrived, Ryan insisted on ordering an expensive bottle of wine. He made a polite show of offering to pay later, but the relief on his face when I took the bill told me everything. A man wearing a Rolex who could not cover dinner. Outside in the parking lot, I noticed his car, a sleek BMW worth more than most people's homes. Nothing added up. And after 30 years in corporate law, I knew that when details did not align, someone was lying. Wonderful meeting you, David, Ryan said, his perfect smile holding steady. I hope we will be seeing more of each other. As I drove home that night, the lawyer in me was already dissecting every look, every pause, every carefully chosen word. My instincts screamed caution. But my daughter, my only child, was glowing with the kind of happiness I could not bring myself to crush. I told myself she was safe. I told myself she was in love. Tuesday morning came with discharge papers and a change I had not seen coming. The kind of change that rewires a man from the inside out. The nurse pushed my wheelchair down the hall, talking about medication schedules and checkups I probably would not attend, but I was barely listening. My thoughts were already miles away. When the taxi pulled up to the curb, I climbed in slowly, settling against the seat as familiar San Diego streets slid past the window. Somewhere between the gas stations and palm-lined avenues, something old and sharp stirred in me again. That same edge I once had in my law days, back when my mind could slice through chaos like a scalpel. By the time the cab stopped in front of my house in Pacific Heights, the place looked smaller than I remembered. 4 days in a hospital bed had stripped away all illusion. My life had become neat, quiet, and painfully empty without Emma. But now that house had a new purpose. The first hour back home was routine. Unpacking prescriptions, sorting mail, trying to steady my trembling hands long enough to make coffee. But by noon, the dining table was cleared, and I had spread out 15 years of paperwork like evidence for a trial. The apartment file sat in the center. Every signature, every clause told the same story. Emma Foster, beneficiary. But the property itself? It was owned by the David Foster Family Trust. In plain legal terms, she had sold something that never belonged to her. And Ryan, that smooth-talking parasite, had likely pushed her into it without understanding she was committing fraud. I picked up the phone and dialed a number from memory, one I had not used since retirement. James Carter Investigations. James, it's David Foster, I said. I need a full background check on someone. Personal matter. I'll cover any cost. There was a pause, then a voice that carried a trace of surprise. David, I haven't heard that name in years. What's going on? My daughter's gotten involved with a man who isn't who he says he is. I need facts, not guesses. James had worked with my old firm on 100 difficult cases. Divorce disputes, corporate leaks, insurance scams. If there was dirt to find, he would dig it up. Give me everything, I said, reciting Ryan Bennett's full name, the BMW license plate I had memorized, and Emma's address. I'll start right away, James said. Preliminary results in 48 hours, full report in a week. My rates haven't changed since you retired. Money isn't the issue, I told him. I want to know who this man really is. Employment, finances, relationships, legal trouble, everything. After hanging up, I set up my workspace the way I used to in the office. Legal pads stacked, laptop open, phone charging, coffee steaming beside me. My dining room had turned into a command post. Around 3 o'clock, my phone buzzed again. James never wasted time. David, he said, I've got your preliminary on Ryan Bennett, and you're not going to like it. Go ahead. His job history is smoke and mirrors. Claims to work in consulting, but I can't find a single client or company that lists him. He's renting a luxury apartment, about $4,000 a month, and drives a BMW that's maxed out on financing. I felt my pulse pick up. Then how's he paying for all this? That's the part that worries me. There's a pattern. 3 women in the past 5 years. Each relationship ends right when their finances fall apart. 2 filed restraining orders but later withdrew them. 1 woman disappeared to another state altogether. My heart gave a slow, heavy thud. What kind of financial trouble? Credit damage, missing savings, unauthorized transactions, nothing solid enough for charges, but the pattern is too clean to be coincidence. He's good at this. I closed my eyes for a moment. Keep going, James. I want everything. When I hung up, I looked down at the trust papers spread across the table. Emma believed she had finally broken free, that selling the apartment meant independence. But she had only handed Ryan exactly what he was after. Access to what he thought was easy money. He just did not realize who he was playing with. By 2 in the afternoon, I was sitting at Cafe Rosa, a small place downtown that hummed with late lunch chatter. I chose a table that gave me a full view of the door and both exits. Old habits, control the setting, read the reactions, document everything. A manila folder sat next to my coffee, 15 years of records that would strip away every illusion my daughter had built. Emma arrived 10 minutes late. The first thing I noticed was the wedding ring glinting on her hand like a challenge. She was dressed to impress, designer bag, perfect hair, expensive shoes, walking like someone who thought she had already won. "Thanks for meeting me," I said as she sat down. "I wasn't sure you'd come." Her back was straight, her tone clipped. "I only came to tell you to stop interfering. Ryan and I are married now." That word, married, landed like a blade on the table between us. "Then we need to talk about the apartment sale," I said quietly. "There are legal matters we need to address." "There are no legal matters," she snapped. "Everything's been handled. Properly." Her confidence sounded rehearsed. Ryan's confidence, not hers. I opened the folder slowly, like unsealing evidence before a jury. "Emma," I said, "I want you to look at these. They're the original purchase documents for your apartment." She crossed her arms. "I don't care about old paperwork. I sold it. It's done." "Take a look at how the ownership is set up," I said, turning the packet so it faced her. I tapped a line with my finger. "Right here. This part about being a beneficiary versus being the legal owner." Emma leaned in, clearly annoyed, and skimmed the fine print she had never bothered to read. "What are you talking about?" she asked. "The apartment was never yours to sell," I said evenly. "It is held by the David Foster Family Trust. I am the trustee. You are the beneficiary. You can live there, but you cannot transfer or sell the property without my written consent." The color slipped from her face. "That is impossible. I have the deed." "You have a document that names you as a beneficiary, not a title deed," I said. "There is a big legal difference." I slid out more papers: the trust formation, correspondence with counsel, the title insurance policy. "The transaction you completed is legally void." Her hands shook as she shuffled the pages. "You are lying." Ryan checked all the paperwork. "Ryan is not an attorney," I replied, keeping my voice professional. "He would not recognize a trust structure or the consequences under property law. This setup is lawful and very common in estate planning." "This cannot be right," she whispered. "I signed everything." Money changed hands. "The buyer's attorney will spot the title problem in a matter of weeks," I said. "They will demand their money back, and the escrow company will unwind the deal." She stared at the clauses like they were written in another language. "Why did you never tell me about this trust?" "Because I expected you to come to me before making a major financial move," I said. "I created the trust to protect you, not to control you." Her phone buzzed. She glanced down, likely Ryan checking in. "Ryan says you have been manipulating me my entire life," she said. "Ryan says a lot." I gathered the documents into a neat stack. "Has he shown you proof of his consulting work, client contracts, tax returns?" "That is none of your business," she snapped. "It is absolutely my business now," I said, the calm slipping just enough for her to see what was underneath. "You just handed a stranger what he believed was $500,000 of real estate equity." "He is my husband," she said. "He is a dream case for a fraud investigator," I answered, closing the folder. "And you are going to learn that soon enough." Emma pushed back her chair so hard it scraped the floor. "I will not let you destroy my marriage." "I do not have to destroy anything, sweetheart," I said. "Ryan is doing that on his own." She stormed toward the door, then turned. "What happens now?" "Now you go home and tell your husband that his payout disappeared," I said. "Then we will both see what kind of man you married." The next morning, I turned my dining room into a command center. Trust documents lined up in order. Property records cross-checked. Every message with Emma printed, dated, and clipped. 30 years in the trenches had taught me that preparation wins the fight, not outrage. At 10:30, my phone rang. "James Carter," the investigator said. "I have more on your friend Ryan. You might want to sit down." "I am listening," I said. "The pattern is worse than I thought," James said. 5 women in 8 years, not 3. 2 restraining orders, 3 civil suits that were settled quietly, 1 bankruptcy filing that somehow vanished. He is a pro. "A pro at what?" I asked. "At picking targets," James said. "Older women, recent widows, people with money but soft spots. He does his homework. He follows a script." I wrote everything down. "Current finances? Underwater," he said. "The BMW lease is about to default. He is 3 months behind on rent. Every credit card is maxed. He needed your daughter's apartment money badly." "Needed," I repeated. Past tense. Ryan was about to learn that his windfall had turned to dust. By noon, Emma called. Dad, Ryan says you cannot legally do this. He is hiring a lawyer. Of course he is, I said, keeping my tone flat. Emma, has Ryan shown you a business license? Tax returns? Anything that proves his consulting work exists? Silence stretched. Then she hardened. We are married. I do not need to see his paperwork. You just learned you did not own the apartment you tried to sell, I said. This would be a good time to start asking for proof. She hung up. At 3 o'clock, a certified letter arrived. The envelope shouted in bold type about immediate cessation of elder abuse and fraudulent claims. The firm's name meant nothing to me. The grammar was sloppy. The legal theory was nonsense. The bluster was impressive. The letter demanded that I stop harassing Mr. Bennett's wife and produce documentation proving my illegal claim to property obtained through manipulation of a vulnerable family member. I read it twice, placed it on the table, and called my former law partner. Stephen, someone is challenging the family trust, I said. I want your eyes on this. Can you take a look at something for me? I asked. David, your trust work has always been airtight, Stephen said. What's got you worried? I faxed over the so-called demand letter. 10 minutes later, my phone rang. Stephen was laughing so hard he could barely speak. This clown must have earned his law degree from the back of a cereal box, he said between chuckles. Elder abuse? Against a client who established the trust years ago, when you were in perfect health and represented by independent counsel? Property manipulation? Please, you've got title insurance, verified records, and a paper trail that goes back decades. So, you're saying I should panic, I said dryly. Only about wasting postage on the reply, he said. He was right. This was not a case worth defending. It was a declaration of war. That night, I sat down at my desk with a pot of coffee and started drafting my response line by line. Every claim in Ryan's letter was taken apart with surgical precision. I attached copies of the trust, all notarized and witnessed. I added bank statements showing the transfer of funds for the apartment, the title, and the insurance confirming the property's placement in the family trust. Then I wrote a single paragraph designed to keep Ryan awake for a long time. Please advise your client that any additional frivolous action will trigger a comprehensive investigation into his personal background, financial activity, and documented history with other vulnerable women. Preliminary findings already suggest behavioral patterns that may interest law enforcement. I sealed the envelope close to midnight, calm and satisfied. Ryan had made his first move, and it was amateur hour. By 10 o'clock Friday morning, James called with a tone that told me he had found something big. David, you'd better sit down for this one, he said. I'm ready. Go ahead. Ryan Bennett isn't just some con man. He's done this before, twice, officially. I reached for a legal pad, pen in hand. Give me the names. Rachel Green, James said. Married March of 2018. Divorced February the following year. She was a financial advisor, lost $180,000. He continued. Then there's Nicole Brooks, married June 2020, divorced September 2022, real estate agent, lost about $250,000 and her rental property. My pen moved steadily across the page, the old rhythm of note-taking returning. Same pattern? Identical, James said. Fast courtship, rushed wedding, full financial access, then he bails the moment the money dries up. Both filed civil suits, both settled privately to avoid public embarrassment. Will they testify? I asked. I have already spoken to them. They both said the same thing. They want him stopped. 3 hours later, every piece of evidence was spread across my dining room table. Marriage certificates, statements, financial breakdowns, like puzzle pieces snapping into place. There were 2 women before Emma. 2 lives gutted the same way. At 2 o'clock, I called my daughter. Emma, we need to meet. I have information about Ryan you need to see. She sounded tired, irritated. More legal threats? I'm done with this war you've started. This isn't about law, I said quietly. It's about Ryan's past, his marriages. A long pause. Then, carefully, Ryan was never married before. Cafe Rosa, 1 hour. Bring an open mind. She showed up reluctantly, shoulders tight, eyes defensive. She sat across from me in the same chair as before. The manila folder between us looked harmless, but its contents could shatter everything she thought she knew. Emma, I said gently, I need you to look at these. They're not easy, but they're real. She folded her arms. What now, Dad? More property records? Another one of your legal games? I opened the folder and slid a document toward her. Rachel Green and Ryan Bennett, married March 15th, 2018. Emma stared at the paper like it was written in code. This is fake. You had someone forge this. I laid down the second sheet beside it. Nicole Brooks and Ryan Bennett, married June 3rd, 2020. Her face went white. That's impossible. Ryan told me I was his first serious relationship since college. Read Rachel's statement, I said, handing her a printed page. She began reading aloud, her hands shaking. I watched her expression shift, confusion, disbelief, then the slow crawl of realization. He said the same things to her, she whispered. Word for word, the same plans, the same promises. I passed her the next document. Now read Nicole's account. She made it halfway through before pushing her chair back, her eyes filled with tears, her breath unsteady. No, this can't be true. Ryan loves me. Ryan loved Rachel's investment portfolio, I said quietly. He loved Nicole's rental income, and he loved what he thought was your $500,000 apartment. You're lying, she said, but her voice cracked halfway through. I spread the financial records out in front of her. The losses, the dates, the identical patterns James had charted. Rachel lost everything she'd saved, I said. Nicole filed for bankruptcy. Both relationships lasted exactly 18 months, from first date to ruin. Emma stared down at the evidence, trembling, her world collapsing piece by piece. Emma sat frozen, her eyes locked on the papers spread across the table, proof so clear it shattered any defense she had left. How long have you and Ryan been together? I asked quietly. 8 months, she whispered, her voice trembling. Then her gaze lifted to meet mine, wide with the kind of realization that cuts through denial. Right on schedule, I said softly. Her lip quivered. I'm not his wife, she murmured. I'm his third victim. Her phone buzzed on the table, Ryan Bennett flashing on the screen. Do not answer it, I said. She didn't. 3 days later, I was standing outside the Chapel of Forever Vows on the Reno Strip, holding a manila folder that would end Ryan Bennett's career as a predator. James had traced them there through Ryan's credit card activity, his last desperate attempt to secure what he still believed was Emma's money by making their marriage official. The place stank of cheap perfume and synthetic roses, plastic flowers, fake velvet curtains, and the lingering scent of too many rushed weddings. Inside, maybe 20 people filled the small space, mostly Ryan's business contacts, all dressed like they were there for a photo op, not realizing they were about to witness a con exposed in real time. Emma stood at the altar in her wedding dress, beautiful but vacant-eyed, like a woman trapped between choice and obligation. Ryan wore a sharp suit he couldn't afford, smiling for his audience. The officiant cleared his throat and began the line that made my decision for me. If anyone here has a reason these two should not be joined in marriage, speak now or forever hold your peace. I stepped out from the back row. I have information the bride deserves to hear before this goes any further. The chapel went dead silent. Every head turned. Ryan's face drained of color before flushing red. This is a private ceremony, he barked. You're not invited. Emma, I said, walking calmly down the aisle, my folder tucked under my arm, before you sign any legal document, you need to know who you're signing your life to. She looked at me, torn between anger and relief. Dad, please. We already went over this. Ryan explained everything. Did he explain Rachel Green? I asked. I reached the altar and set down the first certificate. Married to Ryan Bennett, March of 2018. Gasps broke the quiet. Ryan lunged forward to grab the paper, but I was already opening the folder again. These are fake, he shouted. He's trying to ruin us. I placed another document beside the first. Nicole Brooks, married to Ryan Bennett, June 2020. Emma's bouquet slipped slightly in her hands. Ryan, she whispered, you told me these women didn't exist. I can explain this, he said quickly, voice turning slick again. Let's step outside, talk privately. Don't listen to him, I said, my tone flat. I spread the rest of the records across the altar like evidence in court. Rachel lost $180,000. Nicole lost $250,000 and her rental home. Both trusted him, both ended up broke. A murmur spread through the guests. Some of Ryan's so-called associates started edging toward the doors. The officiant took a step back. Emma, I said gently, read this. I handed her Nicole's written statement. She read, her hands shaking, lips moving silently until the words started to hit. Then she looked up, tears forming. He said the same things to her, she whispered. The same promises, the same words. Ryan reached for her arm. We can go right now. Forget them all. Start over. But she wasn't hearing him anymore. Her eyes were fixed on the 2 marriage certificates, on the timelines that matched her own. You told me I was your first real love. You are, he insisted. Those women meant nothing. Then why did you steal from them? She said, her voice breaking. Ryan's smooth expression collapsed. I didn't steal a thing. They gave me money. I earned their trust. Just like I was supposed to give you the apartment money, she shot back. That's different, he said, desperation rising. We're married. What's yours is mine. Emma stared down at her ring, then slowly pulled it off. She held it like it burned. We're not married yet, she said quietly, and we never will be. She turned and walked down the aisle, still in her wedding gown, but no longer a bride. Ryan called after her, shouting her name, but she never turned around. By the time I followed her outside, the chapel had turned into a crime scene of its own kind. Ryan shouting excuses to no one, his audience gone, his empire of lies crumbling. 2 days later, my phone rang at 10 in the morning. Emma Foster on the screen, the first time she had called since Reno. Dad? Her voice was soft, uncertain. I owe you an apology. I set down my coffee and took a deep breath. You don't owe me anything. I'm just glad you're safe. How did you know? She asked quietly. From the start, how did you see what I couldn't? Experience, I said. 30 years of reading people on witness stands, and the kind of instinct only a father gets once he's had something to lose. She exhaled slowly. I feel so stupid. All the signs were there, and I ignored them because I wanted to believe he loved me. You're not stupid, I said. You were targeted. Ryan's good at this. Too good. But we're going to make sure he doesn't get another chance. That afternoon, I opened my contact list. 30 years worth of lawyers, judges, prosecutors, and old colleagues. My professional network. My real weapon. Stephen Walsh took my first call. Stephen, I want Ryan Bennett examined from every angle, I said. Business filings, tax returns, credit profile, real employment records, everything. Already in motion, he replied. After seeing what you sent, we moved fast. The state licensing board opened a case yesterday. His consulting firm is smoke. No clients on record, no real address, no valid credentials. What about criminal exposure, I asked. We are building it, he said. 3 women ready to testify, documented financial patterns, and a district attorney who is paying attention. By nightfall, the machine was grinding forward. Fraud alerts hit the credit bureaus. Banks began reviewing accounts. Rachel and Nicole's attorneys drafted civil complaints. Ryan, meanwhile, grew more frantic. Emma showed me the messages, texts and voicemails that swung from pleading to controlling. Emma, do not let him turn you against me. We can fix this, he wrote. Fix what, Ryan? She answered, the lies, the gaslighting, the theft. His tone hardened. Those documents are fake. Your father bought false evidence. Stop. Do not contact me again, she replied. But Ryan did not stop. That evening, James called. He has been outside Emma's building, he said. Tried door handles, asked neighbors about her schedule. He is escalating. What is pushing him? I asked. Money, James said. The BMW was repossessed today and he is 3 months behind on rent. When the walls close in, men like him get dangerous. I looked out over my quiet Pacific Heights street and felt the stillness change. Dangerous how? Hard to predict, James said. But he will look for someone to blame. Right now, that is you. Emma had already changed her locks, cut off shared accounts, and started therapy to unwind the psychological knots he tied in her head. She was clawing her life back, one step at a time. Healing, though, does not keep a clock. Ryan was running out of both time and patience. Later that night, my phone rang from a blocked number. Ryan's voice was unmistakable. You ruined my life, old man. You ruined it yourself, I said. All I did was shine a light. Emma was mine. The apartment was mine. Everything was mine until you interfered. Emma was never yours, I answered. She was your mark, and the apartment always belonged to me. Silence. Then he spoke again, and his voice had a chill that made me reach for the security system remote. This is not over. April 1st brought news that should have felt like victory. Stephen called at 9. The licensing board is moving, he said. Every part of his story is fabricated. No clients, no business address, nothing that holds up. Good, I said. And the criminal referral? That part is tricky, Stephen admitted. Ryan hired a real lawyer, Robert Hayes from Bennett and Partners. My stomach dipped. Hayes had a reputation. He could unspool a tight case on technicalities. How good is he? The kind who finds hairline cracks, Stephen said. They are challenging chain of custody, jurisdictions, statutes, everything. This could take months. Months. I had been braced for weeks. By afternoon, the news got worse. James again. David, we have a problem. Ryan has been meeting with Emma. That is impossible, I said. She blocked him. She changed the locks. He is persuasive, James said. Surveillance shows 2 long meetings this week. She is listening. I drove to her place and let myself in with my emergency key. Emma sat at the kitchen table, eyes rimmed red, shoulders slumped. We need to talk, I said. She stared at me like I was the threat. You are tearing Ryan down out of spite, not protection. The words hit hard. Emma, he is manipulating you again. You know this. What I see, she said, voice tight, is you using your power to hurt someone I care about. Someone who stole from 2 women and planned to steal from you, I said. That is your interpretation, she snapped. Ryan explained everything. Explained, I repeated, the preface to every lie he had ever sold her. What exactly did he explain? Emma's eyes flashed. That those women were bitter about relationships that failed. I pulled out a chair and sat across from her, steady and quiet. Then let us look at the evidence again. Together. He said you paid those women to lie, Emma told me, her voice trembling but certain. He said you are so obsessed with control that you destroy anyone who threatens it. Ryan's manipulation was nothing short of genius. He hadn't denied his crimes. He had twisted them, turned every truth inside out until my efforts to protect her looked like persecution. And the worst part? He had weaponized Emma's deepest fear, that I was more controlling than caring. Emma, I said, trying to stay calm, look at what's in front of you. The marriage licenses, the bank records, the timeline, it's all there. She shook her head. Evidence can be read however someone wants to read it. You have money and influence. Ryan only has his truth. In that moment, I knew he'd beaten me. Every victory I'd built through law, logic, and proof had been repainted as manipulation. A rich father bullying his daughter's husband. My protection had become control. My evidence had become deceit. My love had turned into possession. That night, Stephen called with the final blow. David, he said, Hayes just filed a motion for selective prosecution. He's arguing Ryan's being targeted because of your influence. What? I asked, barely believing it. He's claiming you've been using your connections to push this case. They're even threatening to subpoena your emails with the police, painting this as a personal vendetta, not justice. Can they really do that? If they convince a judge that this is harassment, yes, Stephen said quietly, and your involvement, unfortunately, gives that argument teeth. I sat alone in my home office, surrounded by 30 years of legal experience, and realized the truth. I'd underestimated Ryan. I thought he was a thief playing a short con, but he wasn't. He was a strategist, a survivor who understood systems as well as I did. While I had been building a case, he had been building influence inside my daughter's mind. My phone buzzed on the desk. A message from Emma. Dad, I need space. Please don't contact me for a while. That single word, space, hit like a verdict. It was exactly what Ryan needed, time to rebuild her trust, to tighten the net. I had won on paper, but Ryan had won in the only place that mattered, inside her head. 4 days of silence from Emma taught me something about warfare that decades in court never had. Sometimes the smartest move isn't to attack, it's to wait. Saturday morning, I sat in a quiet downtown cafe waiting for a woman I had never met but who might be my only hope of saving my daughter. Nicole Brooks arrived right on time, tall, composed, the kind of woman who had clawed her way back from ruin. Her leather portfolio looked organized, deliberate. Her eyes were sharp and wary. Mr. Foster? She asked, extending her hand. David, please, I said. And thank you for coming. I know this isn't easy. She slid into the booth across from me. I've been waiting 3 years for someone to ask about Ryan Bennett, she said. I want him stopped. Then help me understand him, I said. Every detail matters. Nicole opened her portfolio with the same focus I used to see in trial prep. Everything was organized. Statements, records, screenshots. Ryan's precise, she began. He studies his targets. He looks for successful women who are vulnerable, widowed, divorced, emotionally isolated. He knows exactly what kind of wound to speak to. As she spoke, I thought about Emma after Linda's death, 13 years old, desperate for approval, shaped by loss. He told me, Nicole said, that his ex-wife ruined him financially, made me feel like I was saving him, giving him stability. Emma said something similar, I said quietly, that he'd been burned in the past. That's part of the script, Nicole said. Stage 1, the sob story. Stage 2, the joint account, a future together. Stage 3, the sudden business opportunity that needs funding right now. She spread out several bank statements, clean, precise, showing transfers that totaled $250,000 over 18 months. How did you finally realize? I asked. When I caught him researching my rental property, she said. He was looking up market values, calculating equity like he was shopping. Her voice hardened. He wasn't planning our future. He was appraising my assets. What happened when you confronted him? He made me feel guilty, she said. Accused me of not trusting him, of letting fear ruin what we had. That's his weapon, turning your own doubt against you. I nodded slowly. The pattern was identical. Ryan hadn't just taken Emma's money, he'd stolen her ability to trust her own mind. Nicole, I said, I have to ask something difficult. Is Ryan planning to run? Her expression changed. Has he mentioned travel? Business in another state? My stomach dropped. Emma said something about him expanding to Nevada. Nicole's jaw tightened. That's exactly how he left me. He said he had travel for consulting work, then vanished. By the time I understood, the accounts were empty and the money was offshore. How long before he usually disappears? I asked. 18 months at most, she said. But when pressure builds, he moves fast. How long has he been with my daughter? 8 months. Then we have days, maybe less. Nicole closed her folder and met my eyes. When Ryan's cornered, he doesn't just run. He takes whatever he can carry. That afternoon, I sat back at my dining table, my war room, with Nicole's notes spread beside my own. The timelines matched down to the week. Every gesture, every promise, every withdrawal, identical. Ryan Bennett didn't just steal money, he rewrote reality. And now he was about to rewrite my daughter's life for the last time. At 4 in the afternoon, Nicole made a call that changed the course of everything. Rachel, it's Nicole Brooks, she said. I'm sitting here with a father whose daughter is caught up with Ryan Bennett. She passed me the phone. Mr. Foster, Rachel's voice came through calm but scarred. I lost everything to that man, my savings, my home, and my ability to trust anyone again. Please don't let him do that to your daughter. Will you help me stop him? I asked. I've been waiting 3 years for someone to ask, she said. Just tell me when and where. By that evening, I finally had what prosecutors call a pattern case. Multiple victims, identical methods, documented financial crimes, and witnesses willing to testify. But more than that, I had something Ryan could never twist. The words of women who had survived him and wanted justice. Time, though, was slipping away. According to Nicole's breakdown, Ryan was close to his escape window. Emma still believed she was protecting him from my so-called vendetta. I looked over the files covering my dining table, not just paperwork this time, but the lives of 2 women Ryan had ruined and 1 daughter he was about to. Tomorrow I'd have to make a choice, respect Emma's request for distance, or step in before she lost everything. The phone rang. James. David, we've got movement, he said. Ryan's draining accounts, pulling out cash, booking travel. It looks like he's getting ready to bolt. I checked the clock, 7 p.m. If Ryan followed his usual pattern, Emma had less than 2 days before she'd wake up to find her accounts empty and her husband gone. Monday morning, I stood at my window and watched a black sedan pull into the lot below. Detective James Carter climbed out, flanked by 2 uniformed officers. In my hand was the warrant we'd secured, built on the testimony from Nicole and Rachel. This was no longer about caution. It was about stopping Ryan before he disappeared again. I met the officers at Emma's door with the full evidence binder, bank records, marriage certificates, signed statements from both women. Behind us, Nicole stepped out of her rental car, composed but resolute. She had come to look the man who'd taken her future right in the eye. My key still worked. The lock turned. Emma's face appeared in the doorway, confusion, then fear as she saw the police behind me. Dad, what's going on? Ryan said you were trying to destroy us. Emma, I said, please listen to Nicole. She has something you need to hear. Ryan walked out of the bedroom, already dressed, suitcase half hidden behind him. His expression faltered when he saw Nicole standing there. "This is harassment," he snapped, his voice trembling. "You can't just storm into our home with the police." Detective Carter stepped forward. "Ryan Bennett, you're under arrest for first-degree fraud, grand theft, and conspiracy to commit financial crimes." As the cuffs closed around his wrists, Ryan's composure cracked completely. "Emma, you have to believe me," he pleaded. "I love you. They're trying to turn you against me." Nicole stood up beside me, her voice steady. "Emma, he told me the same things, the same words, the same promises. He married me too." Emma blinked. "That's not possible. Ryan told me he'd never been married before." Nicole opened her folder, laying the papers on the kitchen table. Bank statements, marriage records, even recordings. "He disappeared with $250,000 of my money," she said. "Look for yourself." Emma's hands trembled as she flipped through the documents. "Ryan," she whispered, "is any of this true? Were you planning to leave me?" "None of it's true," he said quickly. "They're lying. Your father paid them to destroy us." But Emma wasn't listening to him anymore. Her eyes were fixed on the statements, the same withdrawals, the same amounts, the same pattern. "That's exactly what you said to Nicole," she murmured. "Word for word, I heard the recording." Ryan's mask finally shattered. "Emma, don't let him control you," he yelled as the officers let him out. "This is what he wanted from the start." But she was already walking toward me, tears running freely for the first time in months. "Dad," she whispered, "I'm so sorry. I should have believed you." "You have nothing to apologize for," I said, holding her close. "You were deceived by someone who made deception his craft." "How can you forgive me?" she asked, breaking down against my chest. "Because you're my daughter," I said quietly. "And I never stopped loving you, not even when you couldn't see the truth." Later, after the police had gone and Nicole had returned to her hotel, Emma and I sat in the kitchen surrounded by the wreckage Ryan had left behind. Paperwork, bank statements, and pieces of our trust slowly being rebuilt. "I feel so stupid," she said. "Don't," I told her. "Ryan fooled people far more experienced than you. His real crime wasn't just taking money, it was making good people blame themselves for believing him." She nodded, wiping her eyes. "What happens now?" "Now," I said, "you heal. He faces the consequences, and we start putting back what he tried to tear apart." Emma looked at me, her eyes clearer than I'd seen them in months, the fog finally gone. "Dad?" she said quietly. "Yeah? Thank you," she whispered, "for not giving up on me, even when I already had." Sunlight poured through the kitchen windows, warm and steady, filling a space that had lived too long in shadow. The same San Diego light I'd seen every day now felt different, softer, honest, alive. For the first time in 8 months, my daughter wasn't just standing in front of me. She was home. To hear the next story, click the box on the left. And as always, thank you for watching.